Today we're covering Season 1, Episode 18, The Showstoppers. This is the second Cutie Mark Crusaders-centric episode, wherein the three of them want to go and perform for a talent show for the school. And they suck! And as a consequence, they do not get their cutie marks. Spoiler alert, sorry. This episode... Sorry, I'm sorry. Hang on. I have a better way to summarize the episode we're covering this week. We are the Cutie Mark Crusaders. So, this is actually when the CMC is really introduced in a big way. Obviously, they've been around since, what was it? Hang on, what was the name of that episode? It was a bit ago. That's why I'm looking up here. There it is, Call of the Cutie. So they were introduced in Call of the Cutie, and they showed up in last week's, yesterday's, whatever, episode with Stairmaster. But this is the first actual Cutie Mark Crusader episode. Now, it's also the only real one this season. Now that I'm looking at it. Because after this, we got a bunch of other stuff. Don't worry, we'll get tons of Cutie Mark Crusaders in the future, as I already mentioned. Oh yeah, and I did actually listen to the whole song. You're welcome. I take cash. Don't. There's also when the Cutie Mark Crusader Clubhouse is introduced, which is good, because not only do they need their own home base kind of thing, which also makes sense if they were going to do their own show, but it's going to be used to great effect in the future, and it means there's another toy they can sell, so that's just win-win, isn't it? I do have to say, though, the intro of this episode, the cold open, kind of bothers me. Because the way they show the clubhouse that's cartoonishly broken. There's a difference between it needs a little work and this place is legitimately unsafe. And the way they show that is that's not a place I would send my kids to. You know what I'm saying? Not without me going in to help fix it or doing it by myself. But whatever. Cartoon. Moving on. I mean, they had a collapsing roof. The wall fell in just from leaning on it. Moving on. So, Scootaloo's actually pretty good at drawing. She goes, have I ever had a clubhouse? Actually, yes, I have, although not in an extremely long time. I'm not sure when that would be, actually. I remember it. I remember where I lived. That's when we used to have some pomegranate trees out back. And we used to make our own pomegranate preserves and just fun stuff. God, I love pomegranates. That was also when I learned how to ride a bike. This was a while ago. This would have been before I was 7. So, I'm not sure. It would have been between 5 and 7. So somewhere in that range. Anyways. So Scootaloo's pretty good at drawing. And this is, I think, the first time we actually see her on her scooter. Where she does the... And her wings provide the thrust. Another fun little fact. I mentioned how they showcase kind of quietly that Sweetie Belle can't actually use her telekinesis yet. Scootaloo can't fly. Now, this is an interesting point. Because I don't know if this was designed this way. Because there's no indication that she can't fly right now. However, that will become kind of a thing in the future. It'll become a very quietly done thing, and it might have been a very well done thing. The fact that she is effectively stunted, that she has weak wings, that she is physically deformed. It's actually a neat little part of her character, because we will see in the future flashbacks of young Pegasi who can fly just fine. We see that with both Fluttershy and Rainbow, to use a direct example. You'll also notice she doesn't live in Cloudsdale. Okay, apparently Faust said she was disabled from the start. So we can go ahead and say that was planned in advance. But I do like that. I do like that part of Scootaloo's character, and I like how it's not overemphasized. One of the single biggest things that tends to irritate me about fiction when it uses something different is that it draws too much attention to it. I like it when it's a part of who they are, right? So anyways, we see again, with a little bit of hindsight, that even though she can't fly, she can certainly get up a kick. So she's, you know, just some cool stuff, which is awesome. And of course, we have the which is almost exactly like Rainbow Dash's little guitar riff that she gets. Which once again makes me wonder how much of that was planned. Obviously, Scootaloo will eventually become the de facto young sister to Rainbow Dash, which is interesting because Sweetie Belle is the younger sister of Rarity, and Apple Bloom is the younger sister of Applejack, and Scootaloo's parents, like, do we ever meet them? I think we do, like, once. You know, and that's quite a ways from now, and I don't even remember specifically, so it might even be in an episode I haven't seen yet, and people are just have told me that because... Yeah, okay, so apparently in Season 9, so yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I was right. Yeah. So the either deliberate or unintentional improv connecting of Scootaloo to Rainbow Dash is already happening. That's really the point I was trying to make. So she goes back, and then we see Apple Bloom, who has sanded off the splinters, fixed the broken shutters, rebuilt the roof, painted, and of course Sweetie Belle, who is singing once again, Michelle Creeber. I looked up how to pronounce her name really quick just to check. It is Michelle Creeber, apparently, who is singing the song from the end, actually. That's true, Savacom. Rainbow Dash's elder sister stance is something that she's kind of about, and she should be. So that works. So anywho, cool. Okay, we'll get more to that in a second. We also see what is close to our first actual map of Ponyville. They'll actually produce other ones later, mostly for other stuff, like there's the toys, and actually some of the video games actually have maps of Ponyville. But anyways, this is the first one I saw of in the show. So we've got, let's see, the treehouse, Rarity's place, the mountains, the lake, the farm, the barn, and not Sweet Apple Acres, the candy place. God, what's the name of the candy place? I meant to look it up. I actually have written in my notes here, candy place, question mark, because I was going to look it up and I forgot to. We know the name of it. Sugar Cube Corner, thank you. So what follows then is they go to each of these locations on the map. Good continuity. And we have a musical montage. Now, I have a couple things about this I want to say. First of all, no lyrics whatsoever. In fact, extremely little voice acting. The only voice acting we see is characters doing things like, ah! And that's it. So effectively no voice acting for the entire montage. So, damn it, Chigor. First of all, it's kind of a cool thing to do, especially in a show like that. And yeah, I noticed they left Twilight's Place for last, too. But second of all, one of the things I find most interesting is that the animation for this section, for this montage, is actually really good. It's all little stuff, nuanced, detailed stuff, but there's a lot of detail in the animation during the section where there's no voice acting. Make of that what you will, but it was something I noticed, and I just wanted to mark. So, they go try to feed the pigs. By the way, I decided to look this up. Apparently a ham sandwich does appear in this show. So, they decide to make taffy. I'm curious who they asked to have access to the taffy making machine. Then they decide to dye the pony's mane rainbow clown specifically. She's all very upset about that, and understandably so. What I want to know is, why didn't they... Oh, well, if the ham was vegan, then that's okay, because, I mean, screw vegan pigs, am I right? Anyway, so... If they had just asked the pony, if they're like, hey, we'll give you a rainbow clown mane, I'm sure someone would have taken them up on it. But no, they just screw over that poor person. It's okay, it'll wash out eventually. Then they try the psychic card tester thingy. Now, this one made me pause for a second. What would it be like if your special talent was reading minds? Like, picture that for a second. What's your cutie mark? I'm psychic. Vom, 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 vom. I can just picture that. And I was just, the whole scene where she was failing at being a psychic, I was just, really? Okay. Yeah, imagine, I was actually thinking Yuri. Yuri. You don't understand. Yuri has found me. Oh, do not worry about Comrade Premier. He is being dealt with. Anyway, sorry. Yuri. So, yeah, I just thought that would be funny. Then they go to rock climbing. Now, they do something good with the rock climbing. The picture on the map shows an actual mountain. And then they climb it, and the camera zooms super in, and you might think it's a mountain. No, it's just a rock. That is actually a good thing to showcase. As I've said before, it's nice to showcase little things because you don't actually want kids to try and emulate things they shouldn't be doing. There's nothing really wrong with rock climbing, really. I've been rock climbing since I was in the single-digit range. Mountain climbing, I didn't start doing that until I was a teenager and had a lot more equipment and support, you know what I mean? So I kind of like that they showed that. Yeah, I love rock climbing. I wish I could do it right now. Right this very second. But no, impossible. But no, I do actually remember very fondly rock climbing. Yeah, tree climbing is probably more dangerous than rock climbing, especially, well, given the circumstances. But, oh my God, you're right. So then, I was actually about to say, so sorry, several people mentioned the snow on the rock. I wish they had shown, like, just one Pegasi in the background, like, squeezing a cloud or something. Just something, because that's exactly what I picture was happening. Could we please get some snow for this rock? Yeah, sure, hang on. Right? I mean, anyways. I thought they were going to, too. I actually was like, I don't remember there being one there, and there wasn't. Whatever. Anyways, then they go swimming. Why is there an octopus, or is that a squid? I actually can't tell the difference between the two. But first of all, why is it there? Apparently it's a squid. Second of all, why was it angry at them? They're just swimming. It's just hanging out, you know? I mean, whatever. So this whole section, again, very well animated. And they do Twilight's Rome last, which makes perfect sense because they need to segue into actual dialogue again. Yeah, also there was a squid in a lake. If I'm not mistaken, squid are saltwater creatures, right? I know, I probably shouldn't be debating that of all things when it comes here, but anyways. Hi, Dream Whisperer. I hope the drive was good. So, why not try something you already like, you already enjoy doing, or you're already good at? That way you'll discover your cutie marks in, choreography, carpentry, singing. Also, so yeah, Weouds brings up a good question. I was going to bring up this too. Does this count as the books being knocked off the shelves when they were trying to be librarians? It's a little different than the usual, but at the same time, as usual, there's a bunch of books on the ground having been knocked off the shelves. So, what do you think? Does that count, guys? Judges, could we get a ruling on this? Okay, I'm saying a lot of yeses, so we'll go ahead and add that to the shelf list here. Right here. Ooh. So anyways, so they knocked the shelves off. Why didn't they ask for supplies from Rarity? This is the second time in a row that they've just taken stuff from Rarity without asking. That actually pisses me off. For basically the exact opposite reason that usually they don't piss me off. I mean, I know she's her sister, and that's probably the closest thing to an excuse there. But again, it would have been really, really easy to show that they asked permission. Because they do that. They go to Twilight, and it's clear they have asked Twilight for the book. It's not like you have to spend a whole scene showing the asking, because they could just show, okay, is that going to be everything? Yeah, what do you use this for? Nothing. But they ask Twilight, whatever, just... I do like the gag with the supplies. I forget the whole litany. I should have written it down. But what are we going to do with this, and this? Instructions on how to use this, and this, and this. And the camera zooms in the same way on both of them. Nice little repeat gag there. Anywho. So what am I looking at? Supply gag. So, this is when the episode starts to piss me off a little bit. I mean, more than it did with the Sweetie Belle not asking thing. Sweetie Belle, you should sing. No way I'm singing in front of a crowd. Twilight said we should do what we want to do. And I want to be like by Rarity, my big sister, so I'll do the designs. Oh, okay. Well, Scootaloo, you're great at maneuvering. You should do the choreography. Nah, I'd rather sing a wicked rock ballad. Oh, okay, well, I'll do the dancing. I mean, I like kung fu. That's kind of like dancing, right? They then spend about 8 minutes hammering this point in over and over and over. And I do mean hammering the point in. This, if I'm to be completely blunt, if this was like an episode of Star Trek or whatever else, I would call this a negative because they emphasize it and then re-emphasize it and then re-emphasize it and then re-emphasize it. And they just smash it in the face over and over again, a little bit too much. Like Apple Bloom fails at dancing, segueing into Scootaloo, who effortlessly shows her how to do it, well, which then leads to Apple Bloom failing miserably, so Scootaloo plays the piano awfully and comes up with terrible lyrics. So Sweetie Belle, who is sucking at the fabric wrangling, literally, by the way, comes over and gives her lyrics instead of, with our cutie marks we'll rock Equestria, we use our stomachs to digest ya. I had to write that down because of how terrible that was. Then Sweetie Belle instantly and immediately comes up with better lyrics, which then leads to her sucking at sewing. In fact, I'm pretty sure I would be a better seamstress than her, which is saying something. Then Fail Bloom comes over and continues to fail at dancing, and then immediately and instantly shows her how to properly do sewing, painting, and carpentry. Now, I'm sorry to constantly hammer this point in, but it did drag on a little long. It was well constructed. It's just, God, I get it, episode. Then Applejack sneaks in and notices them practicing and is like, when they come out, how'd you do? Speechless. That's what I said. We'll leave him speechless. I wonder at what point the whole Applejack doesn't lie thing became a thing. Like, that's flat out called out in future episodes. But I don't know the exact point at which Applejack is a bad liar kind of became a character point. And I only bring this up because in this episode, she doesn't lie. She doesn't respond, is what happens. She is like, which is why I responded that way. Just interesting to think about. So, hang on, Sovicom. So, very minor point. I do like how the horses applaud by stomping hooves. I think they've shown that before. I'm not sure. But that's actually going to be a recurring trend going forward. You know, that's how they applaud. It's a really minor point, but it once again shows how they think about it. Because we've seen already that they will sometime applaud by actually clapping their hooves together. That's actually happened. So seeing a crowd clap like this shows that someone put a little bit of thought into it. Because that does make sense. That's a far more logical way to do applause if you're a four-legged animal rather than a bipedal two-leg, right? Anywho. So then, the song. You know, I can say with definitive certainty this is not the worst song in Season 1. I can say that. It's not even the worst song in the entire series. I guess second worst song, but you know what I mean. Because Raskor reminded me of a much worse song that's also coming up in the future. Season 4, I want to say, somewhere around there. The song wasn't as bad as I remembered. I'll go ahead and admit that. In fact, it's actually kind of impressive how they were able to keep singing while everything was falling apart around them. Literally, actually falling apart around them. Like, that takes some effort. And in fact, I did a little very brief looking into this. Apparently they got, I should have looked up the name, the woman who plays Scootaloo actually was singing rather than bringing in her singing voice, which I just wanted to comment on because my thought about halfway through was it sounds like she's basically just saying her, rather than singing, just saying the lyrics in time. And apparently that's why, because duh. Anywho, so, you know, they're doing that. I do gotta say, I know exactly what it feels like to suck on camera. Like to just fail on stage. How many of you have ever done that? Just failed while on camera, either on television or on a pre-recorded thing, or up on theater stage or whatever. I've done that. Baron's right. I am terrible on camera every day. I hate it. It's a terrible feeling. And I actually kind of felt for them as they were going through it because they sucked, to be as blunt as I possibly can. But what's interesting, and I like that the episode did this, is the audience is silent for a few seconds and then bursts into laughter. Now, they walk away just horrified, and it's understandable why. It's because they weren't going for a comedy act. So that's not the reaction they wanted. They wanted applause. But I do have to point out that wasn't that sucked laughing. That wasn't mean laughing. That was funny laughing. Again, a very good minor point. Because they weren't like, oh, that was terrible. No, they were just like, oh my God, that was awesome. Silence would be drastically worse. Silence would be terrible under those circumstances. My God. So, funnily enough, they did actually specifically mention that Best Comedy Act was one of the awards that could be mentioned. That was mentioned all the way back when they first brought up the talent show thing in Twilight's room right after the montage. So maybe we were trying too hard. Yes. Maybe instead of forcing ourselves to do something that's not meant for us, we should be embracing our true talent, which is comedy. Now, first of all, wah wah. I think this absolutely qualifies as a wah wah, but I wanted to ask you guys first. I'm just going to pencil that in there. But more importantly, I have two things to mention here, and this is why I asked Savacom to wait. So first thing I wanted to mention. Would you rather they had gotten their cutie marks here for those 3 talents? Or would you rather we got 4 seasons of meandering, followed by them getting their actual talents? I actually did Imperial Star Destroyer. And I think that's awesome, but I don't know how much they'll do that in the future. So Sinister Wing said a question at some point. Do I think Apple Bloom picked up Kung Fu after Rainbow Dash? Yes, absolutely. Sorry. I mean, that did happen. It probably was something that she just kind of pseudo stuck with, which is funny because she will actually pick up dancing again in the future, if you remember. And yeah. Well, thank you very much, Zaburiel. Much obliged and appreciate as ever and always the support. Thank you. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can put that towards increasing the priority on a future stream if there's something you want to show interest in. So if you want to do that, let me know and I can jot it down. I'll go ahead and write your name down right now. Zaburiel. Now, I know that cutie marks are supposed to represent puberty, but the more I think about it, the less I agree with that statement. And I stick by what I said earlier. Jobs, careers, long-term career paths. And the more I think about it, the more I think that kind of fits a little bit better, given how cutie marks are going to be shown throughout the rest of the show. Now, that's a little bit of advanced thought on that, but I stand by that firmly. Now, there's plenty of career potential in singing, carpentry, and choreography. But given where they end up going in the end, you got it. Jedi Fallen Order. Give me a second. It's probably worth noting, and I'm very biased on this one. Exactly, Bragman. I'm very biased because the episode where the Cutie Mark Crusaders do get their cutie marks is one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. Like, easily in top 10 territory, I would say. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of hard for me to judge on that one because it's such an awesome episode. It's even got it's a musical episode too. It's got like 5 songs in it, but they're really good songs. Anyways, I'm gonna be off topic. I do think they meandered too long with the Cutie Mark Crusaders, but I do also think that it was probably better that they didn't get their marks here, which leads me into my second point. Because I can't give the episode credit for this. I can't, because I don't feel it. But I do think the episode unintentionally gets across the message that Savicom mentioned earlier. That there's nothing wrong with A, trying new things, or B, wanting to be good at something that you're not. Right? I've taken 4 years of art classes. I took so many art classes that I actually ran out. I've told this story before. They had to literally, I had to talk to the art department. I can't remember her name. I can remember her face and her voice. I had to talk to her and say, listen, I know this is strange, but I'd like you to confirm and allow me. I have another class slot for my senior year. I'd like to keep taking art lessons. Could we work this out? And basically, I took a completely new art class that didn't exist. And I was just slotted in with one of the previous art classes, and I would just do my own thing. Every time they were working on something, I had to come up with my own project on my own, and then do that project while they were working on the other one. I love art. I suck at it. I am not a good artist. There are certain types of things I can do pretty well. I can do terrain very well. I'm actually very good at terrain. I'm good at... not abstract, but it's when you show something that implies, like implicative art. I don't know what to call that. I love doing character sketches. I have actually done a sketch of almost every character in the extant as of this point in time. You know, blah, 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 blah. I still suck at it. I know a dude, well, he's kind of a acquaintance, who on just off the top of his head can sit down and just sketch out someone incredibly well. Just he is so talented at it that I'm actually blown away every time he draws something. And I wish I could draw that well, right? But I'm getting off topic. I'm just using this as a parallel because I know exactly what it feels like to want to be good at something, to enjoy doing something, and to keep trying at it, to keep working on it, to keep hammering through it, because I didn't used to be good at doing terrain, and I didn't used to be good at doing what Aethel is telling me, Impressionism. I had to practice that. I had to work at that. So I kind of like the idea that they want to do something that they're not actually talented at, and they want to keep pushing for it, right? Now, the problem is they don't keep pushing for it. They just go off and try new things going forward. The other problem is that, like I said, the episode spends a little bit too much time emphasizing that they're really good at stuff that they insist they're not good at. I know they're kids, and it does make sense, especially Sweetie Belle. It makes perfect sense that she'd want to be just like her big sister. Like, I'm with that. But it's just kind of an interesting thing, because, again, the episode doesn't... I'm not willing to give the episode credit for what I think it unintentionally inspires. The idea that you don't have to immediately be good at something, because that's a very good lesson, if you think about it for a second. The lesson that you're not going to be Eric, who can pick something up and just immediately be good at it. The lesson that most of the time you're going to try something and you're going to suck at it is a good lesson. And is a lesson that adults need to learn, never mind kids. So I'm completely with that. Now, see, that's an interesting question, Imperial Star Destroyer, and I kind of want to discuss that at length when we get there, in like a year. But, yeah, no kidding, Shikor. But I do, if you were to ask me right now, I would say with the advantage of hindsight and foresight, I think that the reason they eventually developed their cutie marks is more because they realized who they were, rather than they found who they were, if that distinction makes any sense. Rather than, you know, one day they just, I'm suddenly great at carrots. You know, it's not, there's no change, basically. It's more a matter of, as was mentioned earlier, maturity. And it's more that they fit in the pattern. I don't know how else to put that. I've always said that cutie marks are basically just another demonstration of the whole pattern of harmony thing going on. Everyone has a place and everyone fits because of who they are, not because of who they must be. Which I know is a weird way to put that, but it is important. Because if it's who they must be, then it's being enforced upon them, like the Force in the AU. But if it's who they are, and thus everyone actually does fit in the pattern, that makes more sense because then there is still a matter of choice and individual. It's not something that's being inflicted upon you, right? And I do think that is a unique and very important distinction. I do think it shouldn't have taken so long. I'll go ahead and state that very flatly. I do think the Cutie Mark Crusader thing gets on a little bit too long. It takes a little bit too much time to get there. In fact, real quick, when is that episode? Let's look that up real quick here. Because I don't remember. What's the name of it? Does anyone remember the name of the episode? Is this it? This is it. Crusaders of the Lost Mark. Season 5, Episode 18. So that's late Season 5 versus this, which is late Season 1. That is 4 years of real time and however much of showtime before they finally got their cutie marks. That is a bit too much, I think. Still a great episode, by the way. Like, I actually really like that one, like I said. Unironically. Apparently Amy Keating Rogers wrote that one. Anywho. Yeah, it is actually already a point that they're the last ones in their class, too. We'll get to that when we get to that. I do have several thoughts. So where's my notes? Hang on. We've meandered a bit. Oh, I guess I'm done, actually. That was my last point. I do like that they keep the cutie... I've always said this, and I'll say this again. I like ensemble casts. I prefer ensemble casts. So I like that the Cutie Mark Crusaders add 3 more main characters to the list. That's a good thing, IMO. Oh, we're going to get Aloysius in Season 1. I forgot about that. I thought he was later. So let's go ahead and chop off the local recording.